SLT Mobitel, the connection.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය 99.9% දක්වා විනාශ කිරීමට උපකාරී වන Surf Excel Hygiene Boosters.
In your headlines tonight, shutting it down. Travel restrictions ramped up to an island-wide lockdown. Army commander joins us in studio to offer some clarity. Hold them close. Health experts warn parents of a very high death risk to children and call for extra care. On the way, State Minister announces delivery of 600,000 Sputnik V doses in 2 weeks' time. No way in. The Navy thwarts the first case of attempted illegal entry by sea from India. All this and much more coming up tonight on First at 9, this Wednesday, the 12th of May 2021.
ඇල්කොහොල් අඩංගු hand sanitizer භාවිත කරන්න. ලෙඩ රෝග ඇති කරන විෂ බීජවලට එරෙහිව සටන් කරන්න.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Thank you for joining us live on AdaDerana 24. We take you to tonight's top story. Health experts today called on the country's parents to ramp up their efforts to ensure children are protected from the current strain of COVID-19 spreading across the country, highlighting a very high risk of death from the virus. Health experts at the Health Promotion Bureau today explained that if infected, children may not display symptoms at first, but could suffer major organ failure if it reaches the ICU treatment stage.
At the moment, Sri Lanka is facing a massive upsurge in COVID-19 infections, with the highly contagious UK variant spreading across the island. This drastic rise has placed immense pressure on the health sector in terms of providing treatment facilities. Further, public questions remain on whether the current facilities are sufficient to cater to these increasing numbers. However, authorities say the level of pressure on healthcare facilities can be eased somewhat, depending on how the public adheres to health and safety precautions.
තවමත් ඇත්තටම මේක අපි ව්‍යසන තත්වයක ඉන්නේ. ඔක්සිජන් අවශ්‍ය ප්‍රතිශතය සංසන්දනාත්මකව වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. නමුත් අපිට තවමත් මේක වළක්ව ගන්න පුළුවන් තරම් ගෙදරට වෙලා ඉන්න. අද රටේ ජනතාව තමුන්ගේ වගකීම් ටික ඉෂ්ට කරන්නේ නැතුව තමුන්ට කරන්න බැරි දේවල් ගැන ඉන්නවා. දැන් සමහර අය අහනවා ඇඳවල් ඇතිද, HDU ඇතිද, ICU ඇතිද, ඔක්සිජන් ඇතිද? ඒවා ටික අපිට පුළුවන් සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශයට රජයක් හැටියට ඒ ධාරිතාව වැඩි කරගන්න අපිට කටයුතු කරන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි විසඳුම තියෙන්නේ එතන නෙමෙයි. විසඳුම තියෙන්නේ එතනට යන සංඛ්‍යාව අඩු කරගන්න. මේ ගේට්ටුව කඩාගෙන ගියොත් ඒ ධාරිතාව ඇත්තටම මදි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. රෝගය වළක්වා ගැනීම තමයි මේ ව්‍යසනයේදී අපිට කරන්න පුළුවන් හොඳම ක්‍රමවේදය කියන එක මම නැවතත් මතක් කරනවා.
Meanwhile, in response to any possible low oxygen supplies, the chairman of the Presidential Task Force on Economic Revival and Poverty Alleviation, Basil Rajapaksa, has instructed Litro Gas Lanka Limited to import 21,000 oxygen cylinders as reserves to be used if required. Accordingly, steps have been taken by the company to import the cylinders from Singapore. Meanwhile, the Health Ministry received 500 syringe pumps and 40 high-flow oxygen machines under the first phase of the World Bank's Health Emergency Preparedness and Response Project today. The donation was handed over to Minister of Health Pavitra Vanyarachi at the Biomedical Engineering Services Division premises this morning. In the meantime, during the course of yesterday, the total number of COVID-19 infections detected across the island rose to 2,568, of which 2,530 were reported across 24 districts. The Western Province accounted for the highest infections, with 606 detected from Colombo, 417 from Kalutara and 300 from Gampaha. In addition, 196 infections were identified from Kurunegala, 148 from Galle, 110 from Kandy and 108 from Martale. The remaining 17 districts contributed 645 infections to the daily caseload. What's more, yesterday's infections included 38 foreign arrivals as well. Meanwhile, with the UK variant at present the prevalent variant in the country, concerns are rising on the possibility of the highly contagious Indian variant B1617, which was recently detected at a quarantine centre in Sri Lanka, being released into the public as well.
B117 has been identified as the prevalent strain during this third outbreak. Because of our surveillance system, the Indian variant had been identified in one sample, and this patient who was in a quarantine center was PCR positive. He was quarantined, treated, and then an additional extended quarantine for another 7 days was introduced. So right now, according to my knowledge, the Indian variant has been identified only in one person. Right now, we have suspended all air travel between Sri Lanka and India, and also the Navy has been requested to guard the coast, especially in the northern province, because there are fisher boats in the sea and there could certain trade takes place in the sea. So the Navy has been alerted to be very vigilant about such interactions with Sri Lankans and Indians in order to avoid bringing the Indian strain into Sri Lanka, because it's thought to be highly infective and causes very high mortality. So right now, the Indian variant was identified in one sample, but we are continued surveillance, so we might be able to get more information in the weeks to come.
Further, with the UK variant spreading across the country and posing a significant threat to younger patients, health experts today call for parents to pay urgent attention to protecting their children.
ඉතින් දරුවන් වැඩිහිටියන්ට සාපේක්ෂව මද රෝග ලක්ෂණ හෝ රෝග ලක්ෂණ නොපෙන්නුවත් ගොඩක් දෙනෙක් නමුත් ඇතැම් දරුවන්ට තීව්‍ර රෝග ලක්ෂණ පෙන්වන්නට පුළුවන් ඒ වගේම ඔවුන් සමහර වෙලාවට දැඩි සත්කාර ප්‍රතිකාර ලබා ගැනීමට එහෙම නැත්නම් සමහර අවස්ථාවල මරණාසන්න වීමට හැකියාවක් තිබෙනවා. ඉතින් මෙහිදී ඇත්තටම සිදුවන්නේ වෛද්‍ය විද්‍යාත්මකව syndrome in children කියන තත්වයකට ඒ කියන්නේ බහු ඉන්ද්‍රිය අකර්මණ්‍යතාවය multi organ failure කියන තත්වයකට දරුවන් පත්වන්නට පුළුවන්. මේට හේතුව කුමක්ද කියන එක තාම නිශ්චිත වශයෙන් පැහැදිලි කරගෙන නැහැ. එම නිසා අපේ දරු පරපුර මෙම රෝගයෙන් බේරා ගැනීමට වැඩිහිටියන් වශයෙන් දෙමව්පියන් වශයෙන් නිතරම කටයුතු කළ යුතුයි.
As things stands, 1,016 more COVID-19 patients recovered and were discharged today, increasing total recoveries to 107,657. Meanwhile, 1,429 COVID-19 infections were reported within the day today, raising the number of patients currently under treatment to 24,020.
Follow me into the jungle.
And the biggest news we've heard tonight, the entire island will go into a state of lockdown from 11 p.m. tomorrow and remain in place until 4 a.m. on Monday, the 17th of May. With that, I've invited to our studios the head of the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19 Pandemic, Army Commander General Shavendra Silva, to give us some clarity on what is ongoing and the decisions that have been taken with regard to the restrictions. A very warm welcome, Commander. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting.
I think the first question that everyone has in their mind are also the concerns and fears whether the government is planning to go in for a gradual long-term period of lockdown as a result, as an initiation of these restrictions introduced today.
No, not at all. But only thing we never know. As of according to the situation of the country, always the decision will be taken accordingly, but I believe that as of now, according to the health experts, the advisors and the recommendations given, and also we are heading toward a long weekend, a travel restriction was imposed, not a lockdown. Travel restrictions were imposed, and thereby we are trying to prevent a spread in case if we have, and also people would like to over the weekends as usual. However much we tell, you know that even the last weekend we found that people are going and trying to hang around with people. So this is a way of giving a bit of a restriction to be at home and to ensure that people will not come out of the houses except for essential services. And also especially this has been given an opportunity for people in the Western province to get their vaccines. So we are on a bit of a vaccine program these days, and people who are going to work at times they miss the vaccination program because they are working, and this has been this is opportunity that what could say.
Does this mean there won't be any impact onto the ongoing vaccination program, the mechanism that is in place as a result of the restrictions introduced?
Not at all. We have clearly informed during this when we imposed these restrictions or the instructions in regard to coming 3-4 days. We are informed that in the Grama Seva divisions where the vaccination programs will be held, anyone who is in and around that area can either walk and go or go in the vehicle. Grama Sevaka divisions are very small. In Colombo, maybe a little bigger than that. But still, we have given the facility. We have informed the police and the military who will be on alert that these people will come. So they can go into centers and get their vaccination. That is the aim of actually, especially in the Western Province, the aim of having this type of a travel restriction so that they can easily go and get their vaccination.
I'm sure this is something that you've answered quite some time also since the Aurudu, the festive season, the season where we saw a rapid increase of cases that were reported. Did something happen? Did something go wrong in terms of how we manage the situation for us to see the increase in cases at present?
Not at all. I don't think. I mean, you know that we always, those who usually come on TV and discuss about the COVID-19, we have informed from the beginning of April that although we are having about 150 to 100, this varied from 100 to 150 numbers, first week of April until the first Sinhala and Tamil New Year, we inform that the people have to be very careful, although we are having a small number, that at any given time, unless you behave, unless you wear your face masks, and unless you avoid gatherings, that at any given time this can go up. While doing that, we saw that the neighboring country, India and various other countries around the world, there was a hike. So, but I think the government of Sri Lanka, His Excellency the President and the government would have decided, thinking that we have not had the chance of giving an opportunity for last 2 years to have the New Year at least with the family. We told this New Year should be with the family and not even with the relatives, we told. So having said that, by knowing, I don't think that people can always say that we didn't have a mechanism. We had a mechanism. But in the other way, if we did not have this hike at this time, people would have said we had only 100 cases in the entire island, but still we didn't give the opportunity for people to have their New Year even. So like 1 year, last year, what we were doing. So therefore, this is a democratic country. Although these are health things are there, we were trying to give that opportunity, giving all types of information, informing that this will at any given time go.
How do you respond to criticism that authorities have not done enough to curtail the situation before it became this worse in our times? Because Sri Lanka, we saw Sri Lanka managing the situation earlier in an exemplary way. And also another question coupled with this, it is said that you take decisions mostly on the COVID-19 program and the mechanism. Are you really in charge of all these decisions that you've taken? If so, are you the one who should be responding to these criticisms?
Yeah, no, let me start off with this one. It is not like that. These are, you know, you find however much we do, you get criticism is a common thing. This is a democratic country and people have the right to express their views. But whether they are expressing what the views are, whether true or not, or whether they are fair or not, is for the people to understand and to decide. But the fact remains that I am not alone. His Excellency the President heading the COVID-19 entire program, you know, His Excellency the President, like thrice a week that we meet, even yesterday and tomorrow also we are meeting. So he had the entire thing, had the President of the country, unlike some maybe other countries maybe having committees alone, but President get involved in everything, definitely. But it is not like that. We have a committee and we always listen to the experts. This is because a very brief interview. Let me say the last decision that we took in regard to the travel restriction yesterday. That was for that meeting with the President, the Sri Lanka Medical Association, the President and their members, the GMOA, Government Medical Association, all the experts of the medical field, so those association heads, epidemiology unit heads, then in the Secretary Health, 3 ministers who are in charge of 3 different areas in the health, we all of us were there. Then thereafter only a decision was made one can't do that. Who am I to take decisions
So you
like
don't
that? I'm
take
only the commander of the army.
decisions. So you don't take arbitrary
No,
decisions.
I don't want to. Why should I do that? I'm not having such authority also. But everything being told to the committee, and also with the in concurrence with the Secretary, the Director General Health Services, we take this. We are working as a team. But only thing, most of the thing, even in your Derana like highlights, they will inform the commander of the army. So they must be thinking like that. I'm a part of the team, I'm a member of the team, but I'm not taking alone.
Allow us to go in for a short commercial break. To stay with us, we're in conversation with the commander of the Sri Lanka Army, General Shavendra Silva. I think we were talking about where we went wrong, what we could have done, also about the vaccination program. I think there are concerns, Commander, whether everyone, all citizens and those who are in the risk categories have access to the vaccination. We especially ask this because there are reports, there are concerns that the vaccination program currently, either out of fear that we will have a shortage of vaccine, or because there is a special treatment to certain persons, that residents of certain areas don't have access to the vaccine as they should have.
It's not like that, because the thing is, this is going for a strategy. His Excellency the President, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, he would have been the first leader to inform a country that this is the ultimatum for the COVID-19 is the best is for the vaccination. So since then, from the beginning, the first vaccines that we got to the country from AstraZeneca, it was a good, due to the relationship that His Excellency the President and Mr. Narendra Singh Modi, the Prime Minister of India, both of them have got, and that is why we have got 500,000 free, and thereafter we got another 500,000 we purchased. There will not be a shortage. Maybe people are worried about the AstraZeneca, the second dose. Naturally people would like to have, and also this is beyond the control, because there is a situation in India. In fact, the person who is in charge of this vaccination, the vaccine also is out of the country. You would have heard this story. So however, the government of Sri Lanka is trying their level best to get from India, but we may not get from India, but already the process is already on to get the balance. We are short of like 550,000 or 600,000 for the second dose of the people who got the first dose. So I'm sure that we are in touch with various countries, and by the time that those who are required to get the second vaccine, the vaccine should be in Sri Lanka. So that is going on like that. Then in regard to the other vaccines, that already you know that 15,000 Sputnik vaccine we got, and by today 14,800 already vaccinated in the country, and with that within a few days we have placed order 185,000 of Sputnik is supposed to come within another 1 week or so. Then after that we are supposed to get another 400,000 in about 10 days from there. Then thereafter another about 800,000 Sputnik we are supposed to get. So there is no problem there.
So there is no VIP treatment.
Yeah, in regard to the VIP, no, there is nothing like that, because first of all the things we are giving is right now is for the frontliners we started off. With the Sinopharm vaccine, now we have started for the strategy is that most vulnerable areas during last 14 days, the highest number of patients are getting from Western Province. This is focused to the Western Province first, 3 districts of the Western Province, of which all those vulnerable areas where the highest number of COVID positive cases came from during the last 14 days, those are the targeted areas for vaccination. It's not like you ask whether some people have not got, maybe that area is not vulnerable up to now. You see, so therefore the most vulnerable areas will be given. We go to a Grama Seva division. We started off with this, and we started on 2 days back. We were vaccinating about 2,000 per day. Then His Excellency the President called us and told that this has to be faster than this, because we have the vaccines and we should go ahead with all these vaccines for the people. So we employed all 3 services, Army, Navy, Air Force, and yesterday we have vaccinated over 50,000. Today we have vaccinated over 64,000. So we are nothing, but we don't have to go for this, as you said, VIP treatment. You know that people will always talk. If somebody has evidence to say that there is a VIP lane or given like that, they can take a picture and send it to us. This should be interrogated in that and see whether there is such a thing. But for us, we have not been reported. People tell like that, but where to? We have not seen such things.
How are we managing the situation of the shortage of hospital capacity or beds, or the capacity to handle the rising number or the increased number of cases that we saw in the past few days?
Yeah, we had only about 5,800 odd beds in the government hospitals catered for COVID patients. But now we have increased that by about another 15,000. We have given for ICCs. From the military we have given, and also some other agencies also have come forward and given us. So we have the capacity for already as of today about 25,000. We have created about another 5,000 as of today. So some people say why beds? Why beds? People are saying why beds, criticizing why beds. It is not only the bed is required. No, beds and the staff is required, and we have deployed all of them. But the fact remains that not everyone go to ICUs. You see, even ICU beds we had about 110 catered. As of now, I think 67 or 70 are occupied. Balance is there. So we are increasing the number depending on the situation. So we can assure you, the people of this nation will be not put on ground. We will make sure that some or other, we will give a bed and look after them on a bed. And the doctors will go all around, ensure that people will, death rate will be brought down as much as possible. So, but we will ensure that we will look after the people of this nation who get positive in COVID.
I think there have also been talks about foreign nationals with recent restrictions introduced. Also, there will be a quarantine period mandatory for those visiting Sri Lanka. With that, what kind of measures will we go into when dealing with incoming tourists or even citizens visiting the country?
Yeah, for tourists, there is a system of bubbles. We have practiced this with the Ukraine thing a long time back, and we have got the experience, and we are doing that. So they will have to go in a bubble for 14 days, and that is how it goes. But for Sri Lankan nationals, earlier it was said only in hotel 7 days and other 7 days at home, and for government quarantine 10 days and 4 days at home.
Right.
But here with the new instructions, because of the new variants that people are worried about, and the specialists, the doctors, the medical specialists have given us advices and also recommendations that everyone who is entering the country should go for 14 days quarantine. So as of with effect today, we will go for a 14 days quarantine, and to ensure that this variant will not get into the society.
I think that's all the time we have. But before we go, is there any message that you want to share with the general public, also our viewers watching tonight?
Yes, in the very that the most important is that with all the difficulties, the government has given us opportunity for next 3 days coming starting from tomorrow night, that try to curtail as much as possible with certain strategies to be implemented. We request the people of Sri Lanka take this opportunity not to hang around, not to come out of the houses unless you are working on essential services or you are on an emergency. We request the people to be at home and cooperate. And we are a great nation. We can always win. We have never been defeated, although whoever who says we have never been defeated, and we can certainly win this situation. Even like the first wave, the second wave, third wave, we also will definitely win very soon, provided that the people will adhere to the instructions given by the health authorities and cooperate. Then we will see that very soon Sri Lanka will be free of COVID.
I think I forgot to ask something, Commander, whether essential services will continue without any restriction or interruption.
Yes, no, there won't be any interruption for essential services, and also for the lorries or the vehicles transporting the food items, and also for health, and also people who are going to the airports, and also for apparel industries and the industries. Those who are taking the employees from their own transport is also given the opportunity for them to go ahead with their work.
Thank you very much for your time and your service, and to all frontline workers who are battling the current pandemic. Meanwhile, 13 Grama Niladhari divisions were placed under isolation today across 6 districts, while 3 others were brought out of isolation. Let's take a look at the latest areas that have been placed under isolation.
The rising number of COVID-19 cases, exacerbated by a third wave, has exerted undue pressure on the country's healthcare system, with the government looking at every possible measure to ease the pressure. Despite seeking public participation in preventing the spread of the virus and thereby negating the need for an island-wide lockdown, such calls were seen being ignored as members of the public seen going about their lives with no regard for threat the virus still posed. With that, authorities today ramped up the interprovincial travel restrictions announced yesterday to a full-blown island-wide travel ban, which will come into effect from 11 p.m. tomorrow and remain in place until 4 a.m. on Monday, the 17th of this month. In addition, a nighttime curfew was also announced from 11 p.m. tonight to 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. This measure, however, will continue after the lifting of the island-wide travel ban on the 17th until the 31st. Meanwhile, entry to the Piliyandala town as well as travel through the town has been completely suspended. The decision was taken following the isolation of the Kolamunna and Mampe West Grama Niladhari divisions in the Piliyandala police area this morning. In addition, 11 more Grama Niladhari divisions across 5 districts were isolated today. Accordingly, in the Gampaha district, the Grama Niladhari division of Alapitavala Nawam Mahara and Magulpukuna Road in Magulpukuna village under the Mahabage police area were isolated. In the Gold district, the Grama Niladhari divisions of Dikkumura and Atanikita under the Imaduwa and Ahangama police areas were isolated as well. In the Ratnapura district, 3 Grama Niladhari divisions in the Palmadulla police area were isolated today, namely Sannasgama, Dubagasvinna and Godagama. Meanwhile, the Grama Niladhari division in the Kattange number 3 area under the Kahavatta police area was also isolated today. Further, the Suryavava town Grama Niladhari division in the Suryavava police area too entered the state of isolation today. In addition, the Udaputta and Kendava Grama Niladhari divisions in the Bulatkohupitiya police area were isolated as well today. Meanwhile, 3 Grama Niladhari divisions in 2 districts were brought out of isolation today. They are the Kaluaggala, Polhena and Adhikarigoda Grama Niladhari divisions.
Country's vaccination drive continued using the limited stocks of vaccines. Some good news was announced today that the first large consignment of Sputnik V vaccines, 600,000 doses to be precise, will arrive in the country within the next 2 weeks. This large consignment is set to provide a significant boost to the country's ongoing vaccination drive that aims to target 63% of the population.
On the 8th of May, Sri Lanka commenced inoculating its priority groups with the use of China's Sinopharm vaccine donated in March. Further, the Sputnik V vaccine that was received from Russia too was added to the country's inoculation drive on the 6th of May.
සයිනෝෆාම් එන්නත ඊයේ දවස් තුලදී 50493 දෙනෙකුට බස්නාහිර පළාත තුල දිස්ත්‍රික්ක 3ේම විවිධ ප්‍රදේශවලදී ලබා දුන්නා. ඒ තුලින් මේ වන විට 71203 දෙනෙකුට සයිනෝෆාම් එන්නතේ පළවෙනි මාත්‍රාව ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා. ඊට අමතරව ස්පුට්නික් V එන්නතේ 5460 දෙනෙකුට ඊයේ දවස් තුල ලබා දුන්නා. ඒ තුලින් 11338 දෙනෙකුට මේ එන්නත ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා. අපේ රටට ලැබුණේ ස්පුට්නික් එන්නතෙන් මාත්‍රා 15000ක් විතරයි අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. අද හෝ හෙට වෙනකොට ඒ 15000ම අපිට මේ ජනතාවට ලබා දීමට අවසන් කිරීමට එතනින් පස්සේ අපිට නැවත ස්පුට්නික් එන්නතත් සයිනෝෆාම් එන්නතත් නැවත තවත් මාත්‍රා තොග වශයෙන් ලැබෙයි කියලා අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
As of last evening, 1,07,783 people have been inoculated with their first doses. So far, 223,803 people have successfully received both doses of the vaccines. Meanwhile, State Minister of COVID Disease Control Dr. Sudarshini Fernandopoulos announced that Sri Lanka will be receiving more Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccines within the next 2 weeks.
තව සති දෙකකින් අපිට ස්පුට්නික් ලක්ෂ 6ක් ලැබීමට නියමිත. ඒ වගේම සයිනෝෆාම් එන්නත තව මාත්‍රා ඕඩර් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඊට අමතරව ෆයිසර් එන්නත ජාතික ඖෂධ නියාමන අධිකාරිය අනුමත කරලා ෆයිසර් එන්නත් තොගයක් ලංකාවට ගෙන්නන්නේ සියලුම කටයුතු ඇනවුම් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. මොකද අපේ අරමුණ තමයි මේ රටේ ජනතාවගෙන් 163ක් එන්නත් කරණය කිරීම.
In the meantime, the vaccination drive worked off in several areas of the Western Province during the day. Massive crowds were observed queuing up at vaccination centres to inoculate themselves against COVID-19. However, with these massive numbers, tense situations were reported at several vaccination centres. With that being the case, a tense situation erupted at the centre in Gothatuwa after the health officials ran out of doses.
Now, with the situation in India hitting crisis levels, the Sri Lankan Navy has been placed on the front line of preventing any entry of the deadly Indian virus variant onto Sri Lankan shores. With that, the Navy yesterday stopped the first reported attempt of an illegal entry, 5 individuals from India using smuggling routes. One suspect had reportedly flown to India and, due to current travel restrictions, attempted to return by boat, but was arrested and placed in quarantine.
The Navy has thwarted an attempt by a Sri Lankan national to illegally enter the country from India through the Northern Sea route yesterday. Also arrested along with the suspect were 4 others engaged in the attempt to smuggle the Jaffna resident back into the country. This comes at a time when travellers from India have been banned from entering Sri Lanka due to a highly virulent strain of COVID-19 that has been rampaging through the country, causing more than 3,000 deaths every day. Navy spokesperson Captain Indiga de Silva says this is the first instance of attempted illegal entry into Sri Lanka since Navy operations commenced to close off the island's northern and northeastern maritime borders.
Sri Lanka Navy arrested a person in Mannar who was considered illegal into the country. I think it is the first instance reported directly coming into the country. This happened yesterday during daytime, and they were all Sri Lankan in a fishing boat. There was one guy who has flown to India for a business purpose and wanted to come by sea from Jaffna, and the people who engaged in this racket were from Mannar area and all those. So the Navy arrested this person and the people who were engaged in this racket, the boat crew and the person. Altogether they were 5. So the country's law, legal action will be taken. Navy these days on high alert to prevent COVID-19 spread through sea route into the country.
An investigation has been launched to determine the facts behind the death of an arrested underworld figure during a police shooting that took place while investigations were carried out in Navagamua. The suspect, a known underworld figure wanted in connection with a host of serious crimes, including murder, succumbed to his injuries during an incident when he was transported to a location after questioning.
Underworld figure Dinith Melan Mambula alias Urujua was shot dead by the police today in the Navagamua area. The 27-year-old suspect, a resident of Dedigamua in Navagamua, who was wanted by police in connection with several cases of extortion and other criminal activities, was arrested on Monday. According to the police, after recording an initial statement, the suspect was taken to a location in Vandrumulla, Navagamua for further investigations, during which time the suspect had sustained injuries in a shooting incident. Upon being admitted to the hospital following the incident, he was pronounced dead on admission.
Navagamua police arrested 27-year-old suspect Mabulage Dinithi Melan Mabula alias Urujua on the 10th of May. The suspect had been involved in 4 murder cases, 20 ransom cases, abuse and threat cases, and in addition to that, arson cases occurred in Navagamua and Hangwella police areas. The suspect has been interrogated by the investigation officers. Thereafter, yesterday, the statement of the suspect has been recorded by the police, and a special team led by OIC Navagamua has carried the suspect to a scene in Vanduramulla area in Navagamua police area. Thereafter, according to OIC Navagamua, an incident has occurred. The police has used firearms in order to control the situation, and the suspect has been injured in the incident. On admission, the doctors confirmed that he had passed away. An investigation has been initiated in respect of the death conducted by the Western Province South Crime Investigation Division. The magisterial inquest would be conducted today by the Kaduwela magistrate.
Facing opposition from industry stakeholders, the Ministry of Tourism is going ahead with the repealing of the Tourism Act number 38 of 2005 and aims to replace it with a new act that will look at amalgamating the 4 main tourism-related state institutions. Following a meeting between the Minister of Tourism, Prasanna Ranatunga, and industry representatives, a period of 3 months has been granted to them to submit their suggestions for the new act.
The Cabinet gave the nod to repeal the Tourism Act No. 38 of 2005 and introduce a new Tourism Act in Parliament, a move that faced severe opposition from industry stakeholders. The existing act has divided the entire tourism sector into four major institutions: the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, the Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau, the Sri Lanka Convention Bureau, and the Sri Lanka Tourism and Hotel Management Institute. The need to update the Act arose due to delays and wastage of resources experienced in coordinating the relevant institutions. Accordingly, suggestions were made to amalgamate the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau and Sri Lanka Convention Bureau, but due to opposition, the idea failed to see daylight. Therefore, Minister of Tourism Prasanna Ranatunga called for views and suggestions of those involved in the tourism industry in the preparation of a new Tourism Act. The minister pointed that the new act will give more emphasis on getting rid of barriers in order to achieve foreign earnings of $10 billion by 2025, along with attracting 7 million tourists.
And that's all for tonight. Thank you for watching. Have a pleasant evening.